Are You Terrified Yet? The ninth Goosebumps book in Series 2000 is not one of my favorite Goosebumps books. It's definitely not the worst, but it's 100% not the best. Oh, yes, it is one of the worst in my personal opinion. Sorry about saying that. I guess I'm just a little used to saying that, but it's definitely one of the worst Goosebumps books in my personal opinion. I don't know, the story is okay, I guess. It's just a bunch of kids daring each other to do scary things. That gets a little old after a little while, so would not recommend this book in my personal opinion. Definitely top 5 worst Goosebumps books of all time, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people really like that story, but I've never really liked it, mainly because nothing supernatural happens in the story. Or does it? Because today I have a theory about Are You Terrified Yet? And basically that the main protagonist in the story, Craig, is actually a ghost. And so, anyway, guys, with this video does come spoilers for Are You Terrified Yet? And also, we're going to be having some minor spoilers for The Ghost Next Door and The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. Very minor spoilers. I may make references to other ghost-themed Goosebumps books, but I'm going to be basically like, oh, a ghost did this in a story or a particular moment in the book. Not going to be spoiling the whole plot or anything like that, just little segments of books like that. And so anyway, guys, I think you should be fine. So let's get to the main topic of this video. And that is proving that Craig from Are You Terrified Yet? Is a ghost. So just in case you don't know who Craig is, basically he's this little scaredy cat sort of kid. I mean, he's constantly bullied in his old school that he went to, and he's never really been known to be that brave and everything, so he's constantly bullied. And so now in this new town that he's moving to called Middle Valley, he's basically trying to make a fresh start, become braver, and not have everyone bully him. And so he goes there and he gets off to a great start by saving actually a child's life. And so now everyone thinks he's brave and all that stuff, so he's trying to keep up with the persona of being a brave kid despite him not being brave. And so a bunch of kids, though, highly doubt that he's actually brave, which includes 2 kids. I can't remember their names, but basically they want to prove in the entire book that Craig is really a chicken. And so the main protagonist, still wants to prove that he's brave, and they want to prove that he's a chicken. So they basically test him with all these dares. Like one of them involves him sticking his hand inside a jar of spiders, as sort of you can see in the cover art in a way. And so after he succeeds in that by accident, they dare him to do a couple of other things, like he has to go inside a place where they do corpses and all this stuff. I don't know, just a bunch of dares, and that's probably the biggest weakness for the story, in my personal opinion, is that it just feels like they're just doing another dare, and the dares never really feel that dangerous. I mean, they do some crazy stuff in here, like sitting in a coffin with a dead guy sort of stuff. But, I don't know, there's not that much stakes to the story and everything like that. Not that there needs to be any, but, I don't know, it just didn't give this story that much importance. When you're reading it, you don't feel like it's a super important story. I don't know. It could just be me, but that's pretty much Craig as a character in Are You Terrified Yet? But pretty much in the end of the story, he proves that to everyone that he is super brave, but then it is revealed in a twist, sort of that he's still chicken, proving that while he convinced everyone else that he's brave, he's still a chicken. So yeah, that's pretty much the story for Are You Terrified Yet? And basically it's the main protagonist, Craig. And so what makes me think that Craig is a ghost? And so there's kind of 2 options to this, honestly. I think he's either a monster or a ghost. I prefer the ghost theory just because I came up with that one first, and I like that one a bit more than the monster theory. But both of them go hand in hand. But the real reason I believe this whole thing is because of that dare involving the spiders. So in Are You Terrified Yet? As I said before, those 2 kids basically dare the main protagonist to stick his hand inside a jar of spiders. And so he does so, and he's chicken, so he's afraid, that he's going to get bit by the spiders. And he does get bit by the spiders, and he sticks out his hand, and it feels a little numb and everything like that. So he has been bitten by these spiders, and he feels perfectly fine, except for slight numbness. So that might sound natural, you just get bit by a bunch of little spiders and everything like that. But it seems like the main protagonist should not be able to survive that incident. Because just look at the cover art. You see the spider, it's got this green venom dripping out of its mouth. So it seems very venomous, possibly dangerous, if anyone sticks their hand inside the jar. And while that's sort of just a hunch, maybe it's just green venom and that's it. Maybe it's not poisonous or venomous. But then you take a look at the spiders that are in Goosebumps the game, which seem to be the exact same type of spiders as seen in Are You Terrified Yet? Just comparing the cover art to that one. They look very similar, and those, I think, have the ability to kill the main character in the video game that they're in. Those spiders and Are You Terrified Yet? Appeared in Goosebumps Dead of Night, I believe. In that video game, they are deadly and can kill the main character in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry about that, guys. And so, if this is the case, then that means the main protagonist would have most likely died, or, possibly been injured or something like that from these spider bites. And more evidence to prove that is, while this may seem a little over in depth, if you take a look at, I think, the Italian title for Are You Terrified Yet? Which I think is Deadly Challenges or Deadly Dares or something like that. And nothing really deadly happens in this story. The only thing that could possibly be deadly is that spider dare, because honestly, the next dare after that wasn't that dangerous. You just had to go inside a coffin. And the other one was you had to go inside a coffin with a dead guy, which, while that was a little gross and all that stuff, was not a deadly dare or deadly challenge. But that spider dare, if the theory about the spiders is correct, that they can kill the main protagonist, then that means that the main protagonist has to be something other than human. Because the spider's effects on humans, at least, is that you die or you possibly injured, judging from how they are in Goosebumps Dead of Night. And the implications you see in the Italian title for, what's it called? Are You Terrified Yet? And in the cover art where you can see this venom dripping out of the spider's mouth. So that's pretty much like the thing that holds up this theory, that Craig is not actually human. And due to this, I've developed two theories on the explanation for this. And I think he's either a monster or he is a ghost. And so first, let's talk about the monster theory, due to that one being sort of my least favorite theory out of the two. And so pretty much this monster theory would mean that he's not affected by the spiders, but he doesn't know he's human in past, or he's a monster. Because honestly, if he's a monster, he wouldn't be scared of anything, and it wouldn't make sense. So I would say the main protagonist has no idea he's a monster, and maybe he's very similar to the main character in How I Met My Monster. I'm not getting too much detail on that, but he could be very similar to that. Due to both of them really not knowing who they are and that they're a monster. This happens a lot in the Goosebumps franchise with humans that turn to monsters. They don't even know they're a monster until a certain time. And so, overall, I would say that could be likely. I mean, it makes sense, but there's no real evidence to prove he's a monster other than the spider thing, where he gets bit by a spider and still lives. It would sort of make sense in a way, but, I mean, other than the spider thing, there's not that much evidence to prove it. But then there's the other theory, which I personally like better. I don't know. I think this monster theory is maybe a bit more likely than the ghost theory, but the ghost theory is still likely. And so that is obviously that Craig is a ghost. And there is some considerable amounts of evidence to prove this statement. And so pretty much the first piece of evidence is obviously the spider thing. I mean, he's a ghost, and he's bitten by spiders, so, I mean, that could mean he's a ghost. You might say, though, since he's a ghost, the spiders really couldn't harm him. But if you take a look at an instance where a ghost actually got bitten by spiders in the Curse of Camp Cold Lake, the ghost was affected by it, but, since it's a ghost, it probably couldn't die by it, and also a human got bitten by spiders, and that one was affected in the same way. But since those spiders are probably going to damage you or maybe even kill you, and since I think the main protagonist in Are You Terrified Yet is a ghost, then the main protagonist would be affected by it, but not as affected by it. Because again, I say, in The Curse of Chemical Lake, you can see that ghosts are affected by spider bites. And also, you can see a bit of evidence from his purpose to be there. And so I know this is not a huge piece of evidence in a way, but, in The Ghost Next Door, it is revealed that most ghosts come back from the dead to serve a purpose or in some way. And you can see that in The Ghost Next Door, in which a ghost in that story comes back to serve a certain person, which involves saving a life. And you can see this in a way if the main protagonist is a ghost in Are You Terrified Yet? The main protagonist saved a child's life, and maybe it's even he's a ghost there to conquer his fears. And this could make considerable amounts of sense, due to, in The Ghost of Slappy, I believe, there is a ghost in there, not Slappy, it's a different ghost, but that came back from the dead because of behavioral issues, I think, like she was unkind or something like that. And so you could technically have the same thing with the main protagonist from Are You Terrified Yet? Maybe he has to conquer his fears on Earth, so he has to come back as a ghost and learn how to conquer his fears and become brave. That way, not becoming a ghost anymore. And so it makes sense also for the main protagonist not to know he's a ghost, just as in the other theory, he doesn't know he's a monster, just because most ghosts, it seems like, don't really know that they're actually ghosts, or at least the one that we see in The Ghost Next Door. So overall, it is theoretically possible for the main protagonist to be a ghost. There is some slight pieces of evidence to prove this. That may just be, coincidental evidence, like he comes back, saves a person's life, and throughout the story, he's trying to get rid of his fears, which could be slightly be like the ghost from The Ghost of Slappy, and ghosts are affected by spider bites, but this could all be coincidental. And pretty much the whole point of this theory, the reason this theory even exists in the first place, is just because of that spider bite dilemma, where it doesn't really make much sense if he's human and he survives those spider bites. So he's either a monster or a ghost. But anyway, guys, comment down below what you think about this theory. Do you think that the main protagonist from Are You Terrified Yet is a ghost? Or do you think he's a monster? Or do you think he's a human? But comment down below what you think about this theory. Sorry I haven't been uploading in a little while. I feel like I've been doing that a lot lately. I've just been super busy, I don't have as much free time as last year for obvious reasons. And so it's been hard to bust out videos a lot. I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, guys, that's all the theory we have today. So comment down below what you think again. And anyway, guys, that's the end of my video, and I hope you enjoy.